Welcome, everyone. My name is Jacob. Thank you for joining me. This is Hunt Detail, and we are in late September. Hard to believe. Tomorrow will be October 1st. Congratulations. It's an exciting time. Of course, it's been pretty hot, and I've got out a little bit, but it's not been great. I'm not seeing a lot of movement from mature bucks, quite honestly, and I'm not seeing that reflected on my cameras or even in my sits. And so as a result, I'm sort of backing off a little bit. It's just uncomfortable as well. And I really hate to do that. But the truth is if I can get a lot of things done in preparation for the upcoming season, it's only going to make my availability in November or late October that much easier because I'll have gotten some things out of the way. So you catch my drift. I want to talk a little bit about my prep for my trip west to South Dakota. I'm going to be hunting mule deer this year, and I don't anticipate going back. I feel like, for the next decade, I really just want to focus on, if I'm doing a Western trip, it's going to be an elk hunt. And so I'm not going to, get into the details of where I'm going, that sort of thing, but I do want to share with you some of the logistics and things that I'm working through and thinking through, because this is a different type of hunt for me. Past few years, it's all been all about elk, and that's been a lot of fun. But it's a different type of hunt. It's a much more active hunt. It's a much more intense hunt. And I'm really, not only from a physical prep, but it's just mentally taxing, in my opinion, because of the ground I'm covering. And whereas my approach here will be more focused on being patient and more observation and understanding the routine and trying to base a stalk off of that routine. And obviously, it's a different animal, different style of hunting. This is going to be more of an open plains sort of hunt and that sort of thing. And I'm going to get through some of the gear and some of the things that I've done to prep. But I wanted to let you know that this is the last episode that I'll have on the Sportsman's Empire feed. So I'm been a part of the Sportsman's Empire for about 2 years now. Dan Johnson is great. He invited me to be part of it, and I'm super appreciative of the opportunity. I just want to go back to sort of independent podcasting where I can have a little bit more control over things and a little bit more insight into the analytics. Personally, I have a very strong YouTube channel, I think, with Hunt Detail that's growing quite significantly, and I get an opportunity to really see what's resonating there. But and I want to have that same access with this podcast, so I can see what is really resonating, what's not resonating, so forth and so on. And so I want to thank everybody that has been supporting me on this feed. And when I start the new feed, I'll be able to share with you the outcome of my South Dakota hunt, as well as a giveaway that we're going to start on that new feed. So I'm just going to encourage you to look for that. I'll probably be podcasting. My next episode, again, will be on a different feed. It'll still be the same Hunt Detail. It just won't be on the Sportsman's Empire feed. And that'll probably be from South Dakota. I'll be in the field and I'll sort of give you sort of an update, or maybe I'll have filled my tag and hopefully have some sort of story to tell. But that's that next episode will be sort of from South Dakota or on the road, that sort of thing. And then also we'll be having a really cool giveaway with Redmond Life. And Redmond Life makes Redmond salt, the Wasatch steak seasoning, which will be part of our giveaway, and Relight, which is the electrolyte mix, zero sugar. I'm a big fan of the pina colada and the mango flavor. Great to have electrolytes while you're hunting all day, every day, over the next few months. And love that stuff. And if you use the code DETAIL, you're going to save 15% on any order. So even your first or second orders. I also want to talk about Raw Rev. Raw Rev is a protein bar. It's peanut butter based. They have a lot of different flavors. They have a brownie that's really, really good. They have a dark chocolate and peanut butter that I like. They have a straight peanut butter. They have some other flavors. I think a chocolate chip cookie dough. And they're about 13, 12, 13 grams of protein, 2 to 3 grams of sugar. So real low sugar. And I'll be packing one of those for every day on my trip, in addition to the Relight. And so use the code detail there. You'll save 20% on your first order. So I would say order big and you'll save 20% at rawrev.com. So let's talk about my prep for South Dakota. Um, I I've been it's been a mixed bag. I haven't been as maybe excited about this trip. I've talked a little bit about that. I planned this a year ago coming out of my Colorado elk hunt. That was a really good hunt, but really tough hunt. And I just thought, I want to mix it up. I want to do something that's more fun. I had invited some folks to come with me on this hunt, the South Dakota. Unfortunately, they couldn't make it, so I'm doing this again, this solo as well. But I felt like this would be a lot more fun from the standpoint of it's not a some form of torture like elk hunting can be. And so I haven't been nearly as excited, but I am excited now. And it's I've been doing a bit of e-scouting, and really my approach here, as I mentioned earlier, is to get to a high point and try to glass deer as they're moving sort of from food to bed for an early morning bed. And what I've learned about mule deer hunting, and at least those that have done it, I've never done this before. I've done some plains hunting, and I've hunted pronghorn almost about 9 years ago, and that was a great hunt. And they didn't fill that tag, got really close, great experience. But mule deer, what I've learned is that they tend to bed down as the sun is rising, and then they get up, and then they'll have a second bed. And it's that second bed that's closer to, say, 10, 30, 11, is where they sort of settle in, and that's your opportunity to stalk. But if you're not on them as they go to bed, it's difficult to find them on the bed, because they may be in beds that have been used for years and years and years underneath whatever, a piece of brush or some sort of canopy, and they're buried in that a little bit. And if you're moving around, if you're stalking around, if you're skylining yourself, you're only going to make this more difficult for yourself. So really, you want to be in position, or at least that's my goal here, to be in position as the sun rises to catch movement and to catch where those beds are, where they're going to, what their process is. Now, I have looked at a lot of places for which I can camp that's close to an area that I want to hunt, because what I don't want is a situation where I'm camped at a particular campground that's, I don't know, 45 minutes from where I want to hunt. I really want to be able to get up, start hiking, grab my pack and go. And in the wee hours of the morning, get set up and get to where I want to get. Now, we'll see how that goes. I mean, I may, maybe I'm going to have to be able to be flexible and pivot, and that plan could evolve and change. And I think when it comes to these types of hunts, I guess maybe any type of hunt, you really want to have flexibility built in. And that's what I've done here. I've e-scouted a particular region. I feel good about what I've put in my map app platform. And, I'm going to have that area outlined for my wife. As we talked about last week, those 2 young men that died in Colorado, that was very tragic. For them to get struck by lightning, wow. I mean, I've been in those situations where a storm just comes up out of nowhere, and there have been times where I'm literally running down the mountain, and the storm doesn't develop into what I think it's gonna develop into, and I sort of kick myself. Last year, it happened when in Colorado, and not to get sidetracked, but there were times where I was in elk, and I was like, "Nope, I'm out of here. Not gonna get in the caught in some lightning storm." And maybe I made the right decision, maybe I didn't, but just be careful out there. But ultimately, I've been doing a lot of e-scouting from that standpoint, just having a broad understanding of where I can get in and to some of these spots in camp that might be not obvious to someone that's just showing up. So we'll see. I've got I'm gonna take, from a gear standpoint, I'm gonna take a target out there, a small target. I'm gonna have a portable bow press. I'm gonna bring my son's bow as a backup bow. I've got I'm gonna be primarily shooting the 1.5 severs. This does not have the bleeder, and I just feel good about those from shooting a long range standpoint. I've been practicing a lot from 70 and 60 yards. I feel like I could make a kill shot from those ranges. Obviously, I'd like that to be further in, but if I have a mule deer that's not on high alert and he's 60 yards and I feel good and there's not a heavy wind, something like that could mess up the shot, and this is as close as I can get, I do feel comfortable taking that shot. I feel like my 60-yard shots are like maybe potentially a 30-yard shot would be normally, like 10 years ago, that sort of thing. I feel good about the groups. But we'll see. If I'm in the moment, I don't feel good about it, I won't take it. But I'm going to be using, I am going to take the Tulu broadhead, Tulu 125. It's a single bevel broadhead. I did some videos on a video on that earlier this year as it shot through a mature whitetail scapula, shoulder blade. I may have some other combinations of broadheads, some other mechanicals. I do like the dead meat, the larger dead meat. I can't remember the name of it, but that, I think the mechanical and the dead meat I would probably use for if I have a situation where it's like a 20 or 30-yard shot. Maybe if I have some brush in the way, I would be using that fixed blade broadhead, that Tulu, because I want it to just sort of pass through. I don't want it to accidentally trigger a false open, that sort of thing, if I have to shoot through some leaves or something of that nature. And I feel very comfortable with all of those broadheads and their setup. From an optic standpoint, I'm going to be bringing my 6-hour Zulu 6. I think they're the 12 by 42. Yeah, the 12 by 42. And I also have an all-in phone attachment. So I'll be doing some filming with those. And because those are stabilizing binoculars, I've tested the all-in attachment, and it's going to allow me to not have to take a tripod. So I'll be able to film very effectively once I turn the stabilization feature on, and I'll be able to glass very effectively. And so I'm excited about using those. And I will be taking a Bushnell spotting scope. I don't know the exact power offhand. It's something that I purchased many, many years ago in anticipation of this type of hunt. And that will really be, I think, reserved for like glassing for my vehicle. So I have a window attachment. If I see something, want to pull over quickly and glass, I'll be able to do that from my vehicle and use that to glass. I probably won't be taking that out into the field with me. It's not a situation where I'm going to be trying to determine, is he 160 inch or 140 inch? To me, this will be my first mule deer hunt, and this will be like, oh yeah, I can see he's a mature buck. He's got a good frame or whatever, and I don't need a spotting scope with me to sort of delineate what he might score, that sort of thing. It's not that this type of hunt. I'm gonna be camping from my vehicle, and I'll probably just be I'll be taking a tent, but I'll probably just be sleeping in my vehicle. I really prefer that in a lot of cases because I just feel less vulnerable, especially when I'm solo hunting. I just feel like I'm more secure in my front seat of my vehicle. I'll slip off my boots, throw some tennis shoes on. I'll bring my sleeping bag, all that stuff, and just sleep in the car. And you know, it's not bad. I'll crack the window. I did buy sort of a windshield cover that's mesh that'll allow me to see out, but it'll sort of block any visibility into my vehicle. But it'll also help keep the car cool during the course of the day. But it also help me at night when I sleep, so it doesn't feel like I'm, you know, fully. I guess someone could sort of look at me, or as they drive by, those lights sort of wake me up. So my hope is that that'll be nice to sort of give me a little bit of privacy as I sleep in the vehicle. And from one of the things I'm going to do is obviously solo hunting can be difficult, but there's an ultimate predator decoy attachment for bows. You may have seen these before. It's like the front face of, say, a mule deer. I also have one for a pronghorn. It's like the front face, and you attach that to the front of your bow, and you actually shoot through a little circle or a little area. So your sight pin, your sight housing, and where your arrow is knocked and everything, the all of that is open. And I anticipate using that quite a bit as I work my way into a position for a shot. Because if I do bump deer on the way, I want to have that in front of me, and maybe it will give me that extra second or an opportunity, or maybe it won't. Maybe they'll just sort of not wig out. But I'll have those. There's also a hat that I purchased from Be the Decoy years ago of a pronghorn. Now, I mentioned earlier I've pronghorn hunted 9 years ago. Had could have filled my tag, honestly. I got really close. I kind of screwed up that hunt, but if I had they have this hat that you wear, and obviously you want to be careful. You don't want to wear something like that during gun season. But it's a pronghorn. I thought I'd bring it just in case I'm in a situation where, I need to get in, and I we'll see. We'll see. It's sometimes those things are better just to bring along. I don't know if I'll use it or not. I'll probably just stick with the ultimate predator decoy attachment to my bow. But ultimately, I know it's not going to be easy because I'm not going to have someone to really help me to sort of flag me as I do my stalk, to tell me, oh, I bumped them all out, or or they moved or whatever. So, the from I mentioned earlier my practice, it's 60 and 70 yards, and what I'm finding is that my wrist torque is really what's the problem. I'm trying to stay conscious within the shot, and not sort of zone out and fling that arrow. I'm trying to stay engaged in the shot process. If you want to almost have a something that you say to yourself to sort of keep you engaged. And for me, it's called, I say, hold hit, hold hit. And what it means, obviously, is if I just hold, I'm going to hit. And it's just hold hit, hold hit. And I'm not necessarily saying out loud, because if I'm saying out loud, I'm breathing. And as I breathe out loud, I'm sort of exacerbating movement. But I'm sort of saying that into my head, hold hit, to keep me conscious and to go through that shot process, but also to sort of keep my hand and wrist engaged in a way where I'm not sort of torquing it left to right. That's the one thing that I've been working on from a form standpoint. Now, I do my hope is to find a group of deer or a single buck, quite honestly, that is on a pattern and maybe we'll see how this works out, but maybe observe this buck for a period of time on day one. I don't know if I'll just go for stalk after stalk after stalk, or if I'll observe and then assume that that pattern will hold true for the next day. And if it does, then maybe set up on them, you know, with that in mind. I don't really want to burn days just observing. I really do want to get in on these stalks. I think it depend on how the quantity of deer that I see in that first and second day. If I do feel like there's a lot of shot opportunities or a lot of stalk opportunities, then I may get aggressive and just go and just say, okay, I blew that. Now I'm trying to find another one. So we'll see how that goes from a plan standpoint. From a clothing standpoint, the weather looks like it's going to dip quite a bit when I get out there. It's right now, it's in the low 60s, the high 50s, and then goes up to the 80s. But when I get out there, it looks like it's going to be more 40s and 60s as the high. I see a 40 and then a 56. And so I'm going to be sitting a lot. And because of that, I want to bring a combination of gear that allows me to either be active as I stalk, but also be comfortable as I sit. And so I'm going to be bringing, I have a Kuyu Kenai puffy jacket. It's, it's a borderline puffy jacket, but it is an active installation piece that is super quiet. It's it's a very effective jacket. And I think that piece will work out really, really well because it'll keep me warm when I'm sitting, and even as I'm moving, it breathes well. It does have some zips on the underarms, so I can have sort of like those heat dumps. The I'll be bringing some merino tops. I have some the Wrangler pants that I love from Walmart that are hiking pants that have the two cargo thigh pockets. Those are excellent. They're a four-way stretch material. They're 26 bucks. They're outstanding pants. I wear them all the time. Every time I go elk hunting, they are my pant of choice. But I also have the First Light Foundry corrugate pant that is a more dense material, has knee pads, has side zip heat dumps. And I also brought some 3/4 zip um, merino underwear that is that you can take off without having to take your pants off. They have the sort of the Velcro straps on the side. I bought those from Mountain Ops a number of years ago. I really like them because I can unzip the heat dumps on the side of the corrugate foundry pants from First Light, and then I can unzip the heat dump zips on the side of that long underwear, and so my bare legs exposed. But if I get really hot, it's nice because I can get rid of a lot of heat really fast. So those are some of the things that I'm bringing. It's a hodgepodge of camo. Some of it's solid colors, some of it's actually camo, some of it's Kuyu, First Light, Sitka. Um, I'm sure there's some other brands in there, but I'm not loyal necessarily to any particular brand. I just need stuff that works for a particular situation. And so, I hope that it doesn't get much colder than the 40s. I don't I don't want to deal with, snow. I don't want to deal with whipping winds and cold temperatures. My fear is that it could go that way. Who knows? But if it does, then I'll adjust accordingly. Um, from a food and water standpoint, I'm going to be bringing a lot of my own water, and I don't like drinking out of plastics. I know that sounds weird, but I prefer to drink out of a metal bottle or glass or something like that, or steel, like some of the other bottles I have. And I don't, and so what I'll do is fill up some of these steel or these steel bottles that I have, or the I guess these other glass bottles, and I'll take a lot of water out there with me. Now I will have a water filtration system. If I want to do that, I can certainly do that. I'll have some options there, but I'm probably have a lot of water in my car, and you need about 5 liters of water a day. And so that's really what I'm going to try to plan for, is to have, roughly 5 liters of water for every day that I'm out there. And then, I'll probably have to augment that a little bit with the water filtration system. But from a food standpoint, I've made a lot of dehydrated meals in advance of my hunting season, and this is a combination of venison or elk that I've killed with some vegetables and some rice, and all of that is dehydrated. And then when I rehydrate that in my jet boil, I dump a couple packets of olive oil in with it, and it really makes it just very hearty, and it increases the calorie content of it. And that's really something that I look forward to a lot, is a nice warm meal that I've made myself. It's much healthier, I think, than some of the other dehydrated meals out there. And so a dehydrator, I would encourage you to get one. I use an Excalibur 9 tray, and I can't remember what, maybe it's like $300. It's worth it, in my opinion, when I go on these trips, to have a dehydrated meal. I do buy some Peak Refuel. I like the eggs. Those are freeze dried, so it's a little bit different. But it's high protein, and it's really, really good. I'll have raw rev bars, like I mentioned. I have some RX bars, and I'll have some biltong, which is a sort of like a jerky, but it's not jerky. I'll have some oh, I'll have some other items, like some dried mango for something to snack on. And obviously, I take some vitamins with me. I mentioned Relight earlier. I like a hydration mix. And those are some of the things that I have from a food and water standpoint. And then, really, when the day is done and I get back to the vehicle and I sort of get cleaned up and I make my meal, I like to sit down and consume some content on my iPad. And so I've downloaded the Terminal List Dark Wolf from Amazon Prime. And I think I watched the first 3 episodes, and I thought, oh my gosh, I got to save this. So I have 4 episodes, I think. They're each about an hour long, and I've downloaded some other things, but that's going to be my primary entertainment. It's because at the end of the day, I'm tired. I feel a little bit disconnected, because you spent the whole day sort of hiking and hunting and all of that. And then when you make a meal, you watch a video. It's just kind of fun. It's something to look forward to. It's something that I enjoy. I know a lot of people don't maybe like to be completely disconnected. I totally respect that. That's just not me. And so that's sort of the deal. It's like I said, it's going to be a different type of hunt. It's not like what I've done the past few years where I've done these elk hunts. And so I think for me, it'll be challenging. I might get my teeth kicked in. I don't really know what to expect. I have some ideas of, the terrain, and some ideas of how I want to set up and how I want to hunt. But I will be bringing my saddle gear. If there are sloughs that hold deer, now I can kill a whitetail if I want to, and I'm going to try not to. It would have to be a really special whitetail, but I am going to bring my saddle set up, because there may be a situation where there's a lone tree somewhere, or there is a slough or a draw that, maybe there's a creek or a river where the deer are sort of traveling through. And if I could set up in a tree and shoot a mule deer buck that way, then I will do that. I'm not concerned about the how. I just want to get it done. So next time you hear from me again, we'll be on a different feed. I'm going to talk about a giveaway. And the last giveaway, everybody won something. Even if you didn't win sort of the main prize, you got something in the mail from me. So if this is going to be a similar giveaway, I encourage you to find that feed. And also, I'll be giving an update on the hunt. And so you'll get a chance to hear how things are going, if I'm getting my teeth kicked in or not. And it'll probably not that great of audio because I'll either be driving or you'll hear I'll be in my car and you'll hear other vehicles driving by, just as fair warning. But I appreciate your all support, and we'll talk again next week. All the best.